What is up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about why the OnePlus 7 Pro is a certified classic smartphone here. So I've done a ton of videos on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Just be sure to check them out on my YouTube channel. You can just type it in the search bar. It'll come up. All of the gaming tests that I've done, the unboxings, everything about this phone. I've done a ton of videos on this phone, so be sure to check that out if you want to see just more stuff in detail. But I want to talk about what made this phone such a classic and such a great smartphone, even at the point where it's almost 2022 and I'm basically still going to keep this phone until they stop pushing updates. So basically I think that's with most 7 Pro users at this point, until they come out with a full screen technology. And we are seeing that. I believe ZTE has like a full screen phone, but the issues with those phones is obviously the front facing camera is terrible, you know, which is to be expected. So I do think, like, you know, in another year, you know, when this phone is going to stop getting updates, because it launched with Android 9, so 10, 11, 12. So Android 12 is going to be the last update. This is on Android 11. So you know, yeah, so that is what I'm waiting for, and I'm just going to keep this phone unless something just pops up next year. So I don't really, I don't really see myself upgrading. There are a few phones that I wanted to try out to try to replace this phone with, and that's the Galaxy Fold 3. I thought that was pretty interesting, the folding, you know, phone into tablet thing. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing, but again, very expensive phone, the Sony Xperia Mark III. Also, I'm going to check that out, but also a very expensive phone too. So those phones do cost a lot of money. This is super cheap, and I was thinking about just upgrading this model because I do have the 128 gig 6 gig version, and it does kind of stutter a little bit, but I think that's with the Android 11 update. With the Android 10 update, it was perfectly smooth. So I definitely think they need to work out like some updates to sort of smoothen this device, but I don't think that people with the 8 gig version are really having those stutters and apps, you know, kicking them out. So because I wasn't having that problem with Android 10 is basically what I'm trying to say. But why I think this is such a certified classic smartphone is just this 90 hertz full screen panel. Now, OnePlus was not they were not the first people to do this 90 hertz panel. I believe the Razer phone was the first to put a, you know, high refresh rate in their phones, but this phone definitely, you know, pushed it to the mainstream to where every phone had to have, you know, a high refresh rate at this point. Once this phone became super popular to tech reviewers and just, you know, in the media space, it was pretty clear that it just doesn't need to be on gaming phones. It needs to be on all phones. So high refresh rate, we now see it's on all phones, budget phones. It's pretty much on, you know, all devices nowadays now. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. And what I think made this phone so special when it first came out was the implementation of that 90 hertz with Oxygen OS. So I think people sleep on how smooth and how clean Oxygen OS is. And once you felt that 90 hertz experience with a super clean and smooth, but yet you still have you know, a few customizations here and there on the 7 Pro. You got little stuff here. It's not completely boring, kind of like stock Android. To me, it has a good mix of customizations and everything just being organized, very clean. And OnePlus is pretty good with, you know, putting out software updates and security patches and stuff like that. So they're pretty good with pushing out updates in a timely fashion, which is one reason why I kept this phone. But I think that's one of the coolest things about this phone, was where it just gave off a super futuristic feel back in 2009 when it was released. So you just got this massive display, 6.8 inch 1440p with 90 hertz, and then you have the super smooth 90 not 90 hertz, but you have super smooth Oxygen OS on top of it. And I just think it made for an awesome experience. And I mean, just watching videos and stuff on this phone when I first got it, I knew that I did not want to, you know, basically go back to a phone with like a punch hole or a notch or anything like that. That was like the worst video I could have picked. Anything with like a punch hole or a notch or anything like that, definitely I just did not want to go back, because, you know, you're gonna really fall in love with watching content in full screen like this. I think it's just an awesome way to watch content. So again, this phone is not without its flaws and stuff like that. So when the phone first came out, I thought the cameras were decent, but compared to the other phones like the iPhones and Pixels, it wasn't that good. And the only thing about this phone right now is that the cameras are starting to show its age with, you know, if you carry on an iPhone, like an iPhone 12, or even something cheaper like a Pixel 5a, these phones are taking phenomenal photos, and I'm like, dang, man. So sometimes I'll just have this phone on me, and sometimes I'll end up having to edit the picture, or I just won't be really satisfied with the color science on this phone. And you know, OnePlus has definitely fixed all of that, of course, with the OnePlus 9 Pro. I thought that camera was really good. But yeah, but the 9 Pro, you know, it has the punch hole. That's why I didn't upgrade to it. But yeah, so that's the only thing that's kind of making this phone a little, like, age a little bit, is just the cameras. Just, they're not bad, but compared to like some mid-rangers and stuff, this phone is definitely, the cameras are just kind of okay compared to those. And what else? So everything else actually is pretty solid on here. I really love the speaker quality on here. 128 gigs of storage is fine for me. I don't have an issue with storage on this phone, really. And like I said, most of the versions with this phone are going to be the 256 gigabyte version. Also, this is a great gaming phone as well. So anybody that is really just into gaming on here, I think the same concept applies to you know, watching videos. So you know, being able to game in full screen like this is also a really great experience. And not only is it a great experience, but this does have the Snapdragon 855 on it, so it is a very powerful phone. Still very snappy. It still plays games at high settings, Call of Duty, PUBG. It's still able to, you know, play those games really well. So overall, the OnePlus 7 Pro is just an extremely solid device. So that's why I've kept it. Just the really great software support with this phone. And also, overall, it's just a really solid phone. Battery life is pretty fast on here, or battery life is pretty good on here. I can usually get through a full day, no problem with this phone. And also, you know, back in 2009, the 30-watt charger thing was kind of a big deal too, because yes, it did not have wireless charging, but with the 30 watts, you put it on the charger, and even now, I know phones have like 60 and 120 watts, but the 30 watts is fine. I mean, you put it on the charger and it's, you know, in no time it's charged up, which I think is really awesome. And also the under-display fingerprint sensor at that time felt like one of the fastest under-display fingerprint sensors out, you know, at that time. So they did a really good job implementing that. So overall, the 7 Pro to me will always be just an awesome smartphone. It's gonna be sad when you know, the support ends for this phone, obviously, but hopefully we'll have, you know, maybe the OnePlus, you know, Pro 11 or even 10, maybe, we don't know. But I'm really hoping that this design comes back for OnePlus. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.